Hi, everybody. This is Brian Judd. I am the speaker tonight talking about how to sell more books to non-bookstore buyers, and this is sponsored by the Houston Writers Guild. And I thank you very much for inviting me to speak to your group tonight. My background is primarily in special sales. I'm the executive director of the Association of Publishers for Special Sales, and I've had a lot of experience with on both sides of the desk. I was a marketing manager for a Fortune 250 company where I was buying promotional products and also a sales rep selling promotional products. And I've written several books on book marketing and lots of book marketing articles. So I have a lot of experience in the special sales area. So I hope you find this very helpful tonight, and I will answer your questions as they come up. So what can you expect from this presentation? Well, first of all, just a definition of special sales. I'll talk about what that is and then get into the how it can help you and why sell in the bookstore markets and then where to find potential buyers. So this will be a primer on special sales and hopefully at the end of the day and at the end of this hour that you'll have all the information that you need for non-bookstore marketing. So, how do most publishers see book marketing in general? This is bookstore marketing. I'm an author, and I spend a lot of time looking at money going down the drain, and putting a lot of money into promotion, into distribution, into into book production, and did not see much of a return because I was too interested in selling to bookstores. And I learned that it's more important to sell to non-bookstore buyers. And just wanted to show you this to see if you what I mean by looking at the opportunities that most people don't see. They look at bookstores and they look at Amazon and they sell books there, but they look at the trunk of the tree as that sales opportunity. But if you look closely, you can see some faces in the tree there. Then look here. Uh, there are different faces here and here. Most people don't see those. They're looking at the trunk of the tree, and I think that's what they think about when they look at non-bookstore marketing as well. They don't really see it. They just concentrate on the traditional ways of selling. This is what I mean by that, in the sense that most authors and publishers look at bookstores, whether it's chains, the independents, or Amazon, or selling online, and that's the bulk of their experience. And some will look at the e-commerce of selling through their website, selling through their mobile marketing, and doing a lot of promotion online. Others will sell direct mail or direct marketing, and I did this too, whether snail mail or email, selling books to targeted lists of people, selling rights to film. I've never sold as film rights, but I've always written nonfiction, but have sold serial rights. And international, I have my one book that has been translated into Spanish, and that is in my entree into the international world. But that's where most people stop, and that's less than half of the sales opportunity. There are more books sold outside this area than it's sold inside. For example, the non-retail selling to corporations, associations, libraries, schools, military, and also to book clubs and home shopping networks, display marketing companies, catalogs, and the non-trade retailers. These are all places we'll talk about tonight, and I'll show you how these can be more lucrative than selling through the bookstores. I think you'll find this to be a great opportunity to find new sales, new revenue, and more profitable sales. So why sell to non-bookstore buyers? Well, this is an actual photograph of a bookstore. And if you look at if your book is up here or even down here, it's not going to be well easily found, and it's probably not going to sell at all. So you have to be able to have your book on display, but it's also the I'm not suggesting not to go to bookstores. I think that if you're in bookstores, that's okay, but just don't rely on that for your bulk of your revenue and your profits. Look at these other areas of the non-bookstore areas. So how is special sales different from trade sales? Also, when I use the term special sales, it's you may hear it. I may call it that, or you may hear others call it non-bookstore marketing or non-traditional marketing. but it's the Association of Publishers for Special Sales. We call it special sales. But here, you stop selling your books. You're selling the information in your books. That's the critical thing. If you look at Arm& Hammer baking soda, most people are familiar with this product. And look at how it's used. It could be as a deodorizer for recipes, putting out fires, as a toothpaste. So as a variety of uses. But the product itself has not changed. It's the same thing. It's the same with your book. The content is viewed differently. The a TV and radio producer may have you on the show. Their objective is to have a good show for their audience. A retailer wants to have more profitable sales, more inventory turns. A distributor wants to have a product that's easy for their sales rep to sell and will move through the pipeline because the author is doing a lot of promotion. So you see, it's the same product, but people are looking at it differently. So you're selling the content, not the books. And your backlist is important. The copyright date is not critical here. In retail selling, it's very important. And if you don't sell a book once it's on the shelf within 90 days, they'll take it off. And it's usually, if it's a book coming out in December, if it's a 2016 copyright date, 2017, then now it's a year old already. But in corporate sales, particularly, the copyright date is not a factor. It's the content, the information in it. And form is a variable in the sense that your content can be delivered as a video, which I did, excuse me, DVDs, videos, CDs, or MP3s, or it could be through seminars or workshops, or it could be through ebooks or printed books or booklets. The idea is that the form is not as critical as the information that you're selling. So you want to find out how do people want the form delivered, and then deliver it in that context. And it can take a long time to make a sale. They have to have a long-term perspective. In retail, again, as I said before, if it's not sold in 90 days, then they'll take it off the shelf. But in corporate sales, it may take a year or two to get a large sale, but then they order 10,000 books and they're non-returnable, which is a nice thing. And what I mean by dual distribution is not just special sales and not just trade sales, but a combination. It's good to have both because then you're maximizing your sales opportunities. Each sale is different in the sense that, particularly in the corporate area, one association may use your book to help improve their membership, or a corporation may want to help them sell more of their dog food, where the HR person may be looking at the book to motivate or increase the productivity of their employees. So the same content is used for different purposes. And most sales, particularly in corporate world, are large quantity, non-returnable sales. So there are two parts of special sales. One is the retail, and one is the non-retail. The retail could be the airport stores, discount stores, pharmacies. But here you decide on the price. You create the book, decide on the price, create the distribution, and then you sell to these places. Where over here, it's totally different in a non-retail area, where first you contact the buyers and find out why and how will they use your book. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold today. But for example, I wrote a book called Job Search 101 about a book about how to get a job. And I took it to a state government, and they said, "We love your book, but we're not going to buy it." So why not? So well, we conduct a lot of workshops, and we want a book that lays flat, and a perfect bound book doesn't. So I took it to Staples, cut the binding off, put a wire binding on it, brought it back to the state decision maker. They said, "We love it." They put in a standing order for 8,000 books a quarter, and I never changed the word of it. I just changed the binding. I found out what they wanted, what problem they wanted solved, decided on the form, and then negotiated the price. So it's really different from retail selling. So this is one of the major differences of this, but it's something that can lead into large quantity sales for you. Let's look at the preparation for special sales. First of all, and this is important not just for special sales, but for any kind of book marketing or any kind of marketing in general, of defining your target buyers. Think of the 5 W's of who, what, where, when, and why. Who is your target reader? Is it someone who is a male or female? What age group is it? Is it someone that needs a large print edition, or if it's a younger demographic, you may want to do more mobile marketing. Where do they shop? Do they shop at gift shops? Do they travel a lot? Maybe they're at airport stores, or do they go to supermarkets? Well, if so, that's where you need to have your book. When did they buy? Is it a seasonal purchase? Is it something that's used as a gift for Valentine's Day or for Mother's Day or for graduation or for the fourth quarter holidays? So it's a seasonal. It may be a seasonal product, and if so, then you have to know when the distribution is best for that particular marketing period. Why do they buy? Do they buy to lose weight, to gain money, to be a better parent, to motivate their employees? So if you know why they buy, then you can show them how your content can help them solve their problems. And what do they buy? Is it uh, the form that they buy? Is it an ebook? Is it a printed book? Is it a booklet? And then the one H is how. So it's who, what, where, when, why, and then how. And the how is what we'll be talking about from here on. But the important thing is that once you define your target readers, they buy for different reasons. So you want to organize them in groups. And if you have this is for a children's book, for example. You could sell books to children's libraries, for homeschooling, for airport stores, for the families who want to have their kids read a book while they're flying cross country. Hey, PTAs or to schools or to moms groups or daycare centers. See, these people all buy for different reasons. So you want to organize them in groups as to the way that they buy and their needs for your content. And then when you create literature, you create a direct mail piece, you create an email, then you are talking to them in their terms and why they want to buy. This is something that will certainly be important for any type of marketing, but particularly in non-bookstore marketing. That's a major tenet of what we're doing here. Now, this also works for fiction titles. I'm not sure if Fern or Kelly or others have fiction, but let me just show you how this can work for fiction. I had a client that had a book about the taking cannons during the Revolutionary War from from Boston to Fort Ticonderoga, New York, and the book was about that cannon train bringing the cannons to George Washington and his troops. And we organized this in different categories, so we sold it to schools in those areas as a supplemental guide to museums, to national parks, and to Fort Ticonderoga and in Boston. There are associations that put on reenactments of battles, and they would buy the book to give out to people who came there, who joined their association, or they set up a small gift shop at the reenactments and actually sold the books there. So it could be to the hotels and the supermarkets in Fort Ticonderoga. We put it in the hotel rooms, and if you liked the book, you kept it, and they added it to your bill. So you can see how organizing these potential buyers in different groups, then it can be a much easier, more productive, more effective, and efficient way of reaching the people. These reading groups, I think you'll find interesting. There's a company called Reading Group Choices, and they have lists of these reading groups around the country. It could be 5 people in one area, 10 people in another, 15 people in another, 5 in another area, and they all read the same book, and then they meet monthly and talk about it. Well, they have lists of these groups. They send out a catalog quarterly to them, and people buy the books. So you sell them 1,000 books or X thousand books, and they send them out 5 and 10 at a time. So the Reading Group Choices is a good opportunity. That's for fiction and for nonfiction too. Just a brief history of how I implemented some of these with my book, Job Search 101. I did some research and found out early in my career, when I started out writing my book, that there are 8 million people unemployed, and 6 million people wanted information about resumes and cover letters and so forth. So I started approaching this group, selling to this group. But my first business plan was 6 million times 14.95, and I didn't sell too many books because I concentrated on bookstores sales. I sold them; they were in Barnes and Noble and Borders and all the large and local and regional chains. But I wasn't selling because everybody else was competing on the same products. They all had a book for resumes and cover letters and interviewing, and I wasn't getting the sales that I thought I should get, and books were being returned. I never heard of that before. So I thought there's got to be a better way. What can I do? This is a really important question. Ask yourself, who else could be a likely reader? And think about that. Who else could use the information, your content? I thought about the international. It could be people that, obviously, in the Hispanic segment, that did not have job information at that point. So I had it translated, and it sold very well. What overlooked segments could use your content? I got a call one time from a prison librarian who wanted to buy my job search book. And I said, why? I said, well, prisoners get out of prison. We want to make sure they're trained to get a job. And I never would have thought of that. So I sold 1,500 books to other prison librarians. And I thought, who else is in that same situation? Well, the military. So they're in for a limited amount of time, and they need a job when they get out. I sold more books to the military, to the family members of the service people who were changing careers or changing jobs, I should say, every 2 years when the service person was transferred. And they were a big market for me for the Job Search 101. The decision influencers, I thought, who wants a college student to get a job more than the student? Well, the parents. So I did a direct mail to the parents of graduating college students and sold tens of thousands of books to them at list price, non-returnable. In what form do they want it? I went to the college students as a different group who could use the information in my books, and they didn't want a book. They wanted booklets. So I took chapters out and created booklets on these different topics of resumes and cover letters and interviews. And I sold them to the colleges, and the colleges gave them to the students. So everybody got paid, everybody got the information they wanted, and it was a real good win-win situation. Who could use your content in large quantities? Well, the state governments. I sold them to corporations too, because corporations, when they're laying people off, the top managers got outplacement services, but the rank and file did not. So I sold them the books, and they would give these books to those who are not getting outplacement services from the company, and I sold thousands more to these corporate buyers. So my sales, my revenue, and profits all increased substantially just by asking these few questions: who else, who else, who else? And that's a great opportunity for you to ask these questions of people that or ask of yourself and find new ways to sell your books. Now, I also looked over here. These million people knew all about resumes and cover letters, but they had a bad attitude. They've been out of job for a year or more. So I wrote coping with unemployment for that niche as a non-competitive niche. And this is a real good example of a bad cover. For a lot of reasons, so that it's just, this is what I came up with. But it did not sell well in bookstores because it was negative. People didn't want to be seen buying a book called Coping with Unemployment. So I found a catalog called the Brown Wrapper Bookstore. This was a catalog that sold books that people did not want to be seen buying, non-pornographic books, I should say, that people did not want to be seen buying. So the book Coping with Unemployment did very well in that catalog, and it's just by asking that question again, or by doing a little bit of research, find out why people don't buy. These people had a great attitude. They knew how to write cover letters and resumes, but didn't know where to send them. So I wrote this book. So looking to the fringes of the marketplace, these are both non-competitive markets. And it just did very well in both of those areas. So let's talk about selling to non-trade retailers and see if there's anybody, Kelly, Fern, Verstant, do you have any questions at this point, or anyone else that's listening?
Yeah, I actually do. Do you have any suggestions about maybe some alternative markets when it comes to straight fiction? You know, like your romance novel or your fantasy novel or something along those lines.
Sure. For romance novels, for example, we're working on a program with what could be a chocolate company, could be a flower company, like say it's 800 Flowers or FTD, that their objective is to sell large bouquets of flowers. So if people order a bouquet and they say, well, if you order this larger size, we'll give you a free romance novel with it on Valentine's Day. It's a Valentine's Day example. It could be through Victoria's Secret. You buy X dollars on Valentine's Day, buy X dollars of lingerie, then you get a free book along with it. Uh, Selling books to the military. The Navy particularly buys a lot of fiction. for science fiction, thrillers, not too much romance, but they'll buy the other thrillers and mysteries and so forth for the sailors on board ship. Now, I think you'll those are two examples of ways of selling fiction. We had a book called, well, it was a book about whitewater rafting in Idaho. It was fiction, and we went to all the B&Bs and hotels in Idaho and put the book in their bedrooms. And when people if they liked the book, they added it to their bill. Went to the national parks in Idaho. Went to the people who were putting on rafting events. That if you went to their, or if you chose them to as the event company, then you got a free copy of the book along with it. Sold it to the people that built the canoes and rafts, and they bought X thousand books and gave them to Dick's and Sports Authority. So people came in to look at their canoes and rafts. They got a free copy of the book. So those are all fiction examples. So it's a little alternative marketplace, but also some alternative thinking too.
Okay. We've got a question here from Fern. How do you get places like hotels to agree to having them? Do you have to front the inventory and get paid along the way, or do they buy bulk? And who do you speak to? How do you approach them?
Okay, if I may hold off a little bit on that, Fern, because I'll be talking about that in this upcoming segment about retailers. We'll talk about how to reach the gift shops and hotels. So,
Okay.
any other questions, or should I just take it away?
I think we're good.
Okay, so we'll talk about that, Fern. Just I'll talk about a few other places first, then we'll get into the hotel gift shops too. This is some information here about selling to non-trade retailers. I should say, non-bookstore, or even this applies to bookstore retailers also. Since that if you want to sell 10,000 books, you have to sell one book to 10,000 people, probably maybe 13,000 people if you get about 25 to 30% returns too. Selling through a distribution network, and you have to pay for they usually take 65 to 70% of the sale. So you're only making 25, 35, 30 to 35%. Relationship is with the distributor, not with the end user. And you're selling books off the shelf. You see in this chart here that the arrows go both ways because you get returns, and they always come back to the author. And the author's promotion is the key, and the cover is critical. And well, we talk the books are returnable, and you get paid 90 to 120 days. It's not a great way to make money, but you can get if you do a lot of promotion and the book takes off, then it can be very successful. So this could be an opportunity for you, whether it's through a bookstore or a non-bookstore retailer. The discount stores, everybody shoots for this first. They want to go to Costco and BJ's and Walmart and Target. Well, go back to your Target definition too. If your reader is a lower demographic, then maybe you want to be in Walmart. If not, you want to maybe be in Neiman Marcus or Macy's. So by knowing your target reader, then it gives you an idea where to contact these people. But say you want to get into Walmart, you go through a distributor, and I'll give you examples of the list of these in a minute. But you go in retail, you have to get a distributor, and the discount stores, warehouse clubs, most likely will not buy directly from a publisher and probably won't buy directly from the author because they want to return books. And it's not, if a Walmart buys 10,000 books, then you have to print up 10,000 books and you may get 5,000 back. And it's just not a good way of doing business. So I suggest not contacting these larger opportunities until you have a good foundation and a good platform, a good foundation of buyers. So when you come out with additional titles, then these people can buy your second title, and they're much more likely to sell large quantities and get fewer returns. If you are a woman-owned or a minority-owned business, go to these councils, and they can help you get into these discount stores and warehouse clubs. So their mission is to help you not singular mission, but they have a mission to help you get into these places. And one reason I start off with this is that you can go to these regionally. You don't have to go for a national sale. Go to your local Costco. They can make a local decision and have you come in, perhaps do a in-store event and not a book signing, but I would do that a lot with my job search books. Instead of doing a book signing, which I try to do book signings and they're somewhat local, lonely events, I should say. But I would go to the bookstore and do a seminar on how to get a job. Oh, by the way, here's my book, and sold a lot of books that way. And you can do that in Costco. Do a presentation on your topic, and then uh, bring that will attract the people. So that's my suggestion for getting into these people. Either go local and do the events, or uh, have a real big following, a good sales track record, and then try to go nationally with them. Airport bookstores. Now, a lot of people don't. Well, first of all, in retail, you want to think who is the customer of your customer. Your customer is the airport bookstore, but who is their customer? Well, it's probably a traveler, or maybe families traveling together. So these airport stores will buy books that are appropriate and applicable to those areas. They'll have business topics. They'll have children's books. They'll have coloring books. They'll have books that for family travel. They may have books on regional events, or if they're flying from Houston to Connecticut, maybe they'll have books on the things to do in Connecticut for families. So think of this is what you'll be looking at. But this pay to play is in airport stores where you have to pay could be $2,500 a week in a Hudson store, or maybe less, maybe $1,800 a week in some of the lesser known stores. But you have to pay to play. What I suggest is that you go to some of the other stores on the concourse. This could be something like for the Minneapolis airport. I just was in here recently, and if you look at some of the stores on their concourse, these are here's where you can go. You don't have to pay to play. You may be the only book in there. If you have a book on how to pack luggage, or on fashion for purses and so forth, they could carry your book there. Or you might go to Blue Wire. They have a lot of different more tech-oriented products. But see, my point is that you go to these, and they have bookstores, not the Hudsons that are charging $2,500 a week, but the author's bookstore, which is maybe a local store, and go to these places that don't require that large weekly stipend to have your book on display, and then you may get your books back. And the distributors here, if you're with Ingram, you already have access to all these stores, not just the airport bookstores. Or Hudson, that's you can submit your books to Hudson as your wholesaler to the airport bookstores. So these are ways of the distributors for these areas. But consider the other non-bookstore stores on the concourses. Supermarkets. Here, fiction outsells nonfiction. But think about who's the customer of a supermarket. Probably a family member looking at purchasing food, as you might suspect. But maybe you have a book on how to cook seafood, or how to cook, how to bake a cake, or whatever. Well, you can go to a company like bookdisplays.com and set up a counter display, or a floor display with your books, and you have them right by the seafood counter, or by the cake mix counter, or the flour counter. But you have the books in maybe 10 or 12 or 20 in a display. So they buy this display, and they just open it up, take the display out of the box, and put it up on the counter. And that's supermarkets particularly, they are open to this because they like that cross-selling concept, that if you have content that's applicable to selling more of their product, they love it, because then they're selling more seafood, more hamburgers, and whatever. We did that with Omaha Steaks. That they were getting a lot of telephone calls from people just to their customer service area. How do I cook a hot dog? How do I cook a hamburger? I just bought these from you, and I don't know how to cook them. So we created a little booklet that they put in the packages and said, "Here's how you cook a hot dog or a hamburger on the grill," and it cut down their customer service calls significantly. So there are a variety of ways to work with your. That was for fiction too. It could be with fiction on that. This is a company that will choice books distributors will set up displays in pharmacies, for example, or in truck stops, and they have books that are for that target segment. They have audio books for truck drivers. They sell the printed books. They have, and the books in pharmacies can be health related, but they don't have to be. I first came about this company. Actually, I was in a local CVS, and they had books on personal management, on some personal finances, and they had some spiritual books. And they were in this CVS pharmacy. And I contacted them and found out this is where you can contact this choice books. It has the information here. The Ken Gagne is the person that you would contact if you have books for supermarkets, for for pharmacies, for truck stops, and this this is not exclusively but primarily for fiction. And I think that the is a great opportunity. So it's choicebooks.org is the website. It's choicebooks.org, and go there. And by the way, this is being recorded and will be up on YouTube and the Houston Writers Guild account on YouTube. So you'll have access to this. You don't have to write down everything I'm saying here. You can have access and listen to it and watch it as frequently as you so desire.
And there will be a link to it on the HWG website as well at HoustonWritersGuild.com or .org.
Thank you. Now, selling to museums, zoos, and parks. This is like that Waterman book I showed you before. We set to all the national parks and state parks and local parks, obviously, wherever there's a gift shop. But if you're selling books to the eastern parks, go to this easternnational.org, and you can just go to whichever any state you want here, and it shows you the national parks that are in that state. Here's Pennsylvania. So this is a way to reach uh, the parks in the eastern U.S., but you may be more concerned about parks in the western U.S., including Texas. So you go to Western National Parks Association, WNPA.org, and go down scroll down to their map. And if you want to go to the parks in Texas, it lists those here. And that will show you the by state. It shows you, then you can click on this and it shows you the gift store buyer, the contact information for purchasing the books at all these national parks. And it's a great way to reach these buyers. If you have books for aquariums and zoos and go to this is eventnetwork.com. And it has all their contact information just by the contact us here. It has their information. But if you have aquariums, art museums, botanical gardens, children's museums, you have children's books, book on the Alamo or Texas history, you can have it there. But these are the types of places. They're not national parks, but they are places that have gift shops that may be appropriate for your content. And if so, go to eventnetwork.com and contact the buyer there and let them know that you want to get your book in the Texas State Aquarium, for example, if it's appropriate for that. Now, they're looking for hardcover books, looking for books that are well researched. The price is not that important because people are looking to buy a product that will extend the experience for their family. So they're looking for a product that is about the topic of the zoo or aquarium. But your content you must let them know that your content is well researched, that is accurate. And if you have a book on dinosaurs and they were saying that they were there 10 million years ago or 5 million years ago, you lose credibility. So let them demonstrate the fact that your content is correct and well researched. Gift shops. Now, here's what the Fern's question before about hotels, hotel gift shops. If these, with a hospital gift shop, it could be Hallmark. And here you're thinking again of the customer of your customer. The customer at a Hallmark store is much different from the customer at a Spencer's Gifts, and or the hotel. They have different array of books, inventory of books, and these places buy a lot of fiction. And hospital gift shops, you can go to this. Um, just as a disclaimer, this guy at msgpromo.com is my business partner, but he can direct you to the proper people if he can't help you. But the place to go is this gift mart. It's greatrep.com, GREAT rep.com. We're here. These are people, these are reps that are selling to gift shops, to hotel gift shops. And you go here to Reps Wanted, and you can display your cover of your book and a little brief description about it with a link to your website. And the reps are looking for that type of product will contact you. And then the great way to reach the buyers, whether it's at the hotel chains or others, is through these trade gift shows. And if you just click on shows, it has links to all these different shows. And these are current. Looking down here for, I found one in Texas down here in Dallas. Here we go, down in March. There's one in Dallas. And it's a major gift show. But if you want to travel somewhere, just you can go to these different places. What I suggest is click on the link to the show and check out their exhibitors. See who's exhibiting there. Maybe find someone who has a complimentary, non-competitive product, and they may sell your book there, and just give them a percentage of each sale. So you don't have to actually go to each one of these shows, but they can you can you can if you so desire and go to the if it's local, give it a shot and try it. So Fern, I hope that answers your question. This is another company that can help you reach. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But these places, if you have books about animals or about pets, I should say, go to the Petcos and go to the PetSmarts or the individual pet stores or CVS's and Walgreens type drugstores. You have a book on photography, go to camera shops, but the thing is, you don't want to have to go to each one of these. The company that will take you there is Reader Link, and if you go here, you go have this information about their publishers, and here's the contact information for for contacting them for submitting your book for consideration. Now here, when you're submitting a book, again, it's readerlink.com, readerlink.com, and they'll get you into any of these retailers that for almost any kind of specialty retailer, and you'll find them to be good people to work with, and it's a way to get to. Here are different types of publishers that they work with, but it's something that if you look about their customers, they have a wide variety of people that they'll get you into Target, in a Walmart. They're just clicking through here, Sam's Club, discount stores, warehouse clubs, Walgreens. So they're across the board: pharmacies, supermarkets, the news stores, the airport stores. So ReaderLink will get you, and I'm just skipping around here so you can go there and find out those that are appropriate for your content. But ReaderLink, I think, is the most uh, the distributor that will get you into the most different types of stores. So if you're turned down by Anderson or well, others, Hudson or whatever, then just try ReaderLink. When you submit a book, don't just send them a book, send them a marketing plan with it, more of a promotion plan, because they're interested in your promotion and how you will draw people into the stores, because these pet shops are looking for store traffic, they're looking for profitable sales, they want products on the shelf that will stimulate store traffic. And your promotion, tell them you're doing TV and radio, if you are doing TV and radio, and you will mention the fact that your book is in all Petcos or all Petcos in Texas or wherever it may be. So the more that you can uh, demonstrate the fact that you're doing promotion, to get people into their stores, they'll take you over somebody else that's not doing the promotion, even if they think their book is better. They don't want books just sitting on the shelf. They want books at their cash register, and that's where your promotion will make that happen. So, Overstand, we want to any comments about or any questions at this point? Just anything on the retail before we get into the non-retail. Any comments about retail selling or selling to retail?
So, sure. Um, how exactly would you approach these people? I mean, who would you ask to speak to? Do you call them up on the phone and schedule an appointment, or do you just walk in? Do you ask for any particular person in any particular position?
Well, there are two ways to go about it. If you look at thinking about getting it on the shelf of a retailer, one is to do a little research at the store. Go to the buyer, the store manager, ask them what types of products, what types of books sell here. Uh, who's your favorite distributor? And if you can get that store manager to be interested in your book, then it's much easier to get a distributor when you have a potential order in hand. If you go to ReaderLink and you tell them you've got a potential order for um, Lowe's stores or for Disney stores, they're much more likely to take you on. So that's one way of going to the store manager first. But it's also good to go there for doing some research. So then when you go to ReaderLink, eh, the store manager most likely will tell you that I like your book and we'll take it if you have a distributor. So then it's up to you to get that distributor. So the but so I think it's kind of chicken egg. But if you go to the distributor first with a solid plan and with a solid book, then get get the distribution representation. Then you go to the store manager or store buyer. You don't want to go each individual store. You want to go to the buyer for uh, most likely for a region or for a product line. Maybe just a book buyer in pharmacies. The CVS may just have somebody just in charge of buying books. So go to that person.
Okay. And we have another question here. We have two questions here. What is the cut that you can expect these stores to take? How much of the money do they keep?
Probably 50%. Yeah, if you go to them,
Okay.
they'll call it keystoning. They'll double they will most likely, if you go to them with a 50% discount, they'll get their attention. But again, anything retail is returnable. So if they don't sell it, they'll send it back. So they're more likely to take you on knowing that if it doesn't sell, they can just send it back to you. The
Okay.
distributor the wholesaler would take probably 55%, and they'll probably sell it at 40% to the retailer, where a distributor might sell at 60% to 65% off, and they can sell it to the retailer at 50%. So you're most likely looking at that type. When you're looking at your price, I would say factor in a potential distribution discount of 65%. And then if you get a wholesaler at 55%, you're 10%, you're making 10% more. So make sure that your costs, your printing costs, and your fixed costs are that your pricing will cover your costs when you come up with that price. So if it's like a $10 book at 65% off, your costs have to be below $3.50. So it's just make sure that you can get the books printed at that price, and you're also paying shipping to the distributors. So keep that in mind too.
Okay. And we have another one here. How long do you have to wait before seeing a check? Barnes and Noble
That's
is very slow.
that's
I'm still waiting for books we sold here in August, or sold there in
yeah.
August.
That's a great question because that's the bane of distributors that they're slow in paying. That typically it's 90 to 120 days. From last August is pretty significant. The waiting that long. But what distributors will do is hold money in escrow for potential returns. So if they sell 1,000 books into the stores, you won't get paid for all 1,000. You may get paid for 500, and then that additional money in escrow in case of the books are returned. So even if it's 120 days, you may not be paid for all the books that were sold. So it's not a fair way of doing it, but there are well, that's just the way it is. And when you're contacting your distributor, when you're negotiating with the distributor, ask them how much money they keep in escrow for returns. That it can be significant. That can eat into your how much you're getting paid. But if you're waiting from August, that's what 4 months ago, 5 months ago. That's that's pretty long. It shouldn't be that long.
So, do you advise that you just kind of hang tight and wait for it, or should you hassle these people for payment?
Well, you should hassle them, but hassle professionally and gently. Just let them know that they owe you the money
Sure.
because they may just send it back, send books back instead of paying you. They'll just send books back, and then so you don't want them to do that if they have an opportunity to sell them. But you have to have cash flow too, and you have to have be able to contact these people professionally and regularly to let them know that they owe you money. It's and show them in your contract. If you have a contract with a distributor, they'll pay you in 120 days. Then talk to them about it. Say when will I get my money? So you can have more put more pressure on the distributor. With the retailer, you have to be a little bit more uh, delicate.
Right, right.
Any more questions on retailing?
That's all we have right now.
Okay. The next part's the more fun. You get paid in 30 days. Get This is selling books to non-retail buyers. And if you want to sell 10,000 books, you sell books 10,000 books to one person. And we talked before about the long-term perspective, but these things you're selling the content. You may get paid with order. You may get paid in 30 days, and these corporations will pay you in that time because the books are non-returnable. There is no escrow amount, and they're looking to use your book not for resale, but for some way to help them do more of or sell more of their product or solve their business problem. If you have a book on dog care, maybe you go to a Purina and their objective is to sell 20-pound bags of dog food. So you show them that if they put a coupon in there or on the pack for a free download of your ebook on dog care, that people will buy their dog food instead of somebody else's. If it's the same price and they get a free book with it, then these are ways that you can organize these sales, and they're large quantity, non-returnable. For something like a Purina might buy 10,000 books for a campaign, and they'll put their logo on it, so it's non-returnable. Well, they're non-returnable anyway, but if you can, they may in most cases customize it, and that certainly makes it non-returnable. But here there is no distributor, so you're doing the selling to these buyers, and you're selling directly to them. So it's something that um, there is no distribution discount, so you can be more profitable, and you can discount it to the buyers. If they buy 100 books, maybe just give them 20% off. So you're making a lot more money if you're selling that 50% off to a retailer. You're automatically right there. You're 30% more profitable. Plus, they're non-returnable. So these can be. This is my favorite way of doing business. That the non-retail part of it. Let's start off looking at corporate buyers. These are companies that will buy books, again, not for resale, but they're looking to might have a book on motivation, and they'll buy it for their employees to help them be more motivated. We had a client that wanted to decrease absenteeism, increase productivity, and reduce their healthcare costs. So we sold them a book, 10,000 books. They had on walking. They had 10,000 employees. So we sold them 10,000 books with their logo on it, and they gave them to the employees to give them an awareness of a healthier lifestyle. And they hired the author of of the book on walking as a spokesman and flew around the country just to talk to their employees about the importance of a healthy lifestyle. So their healthcare costs went down, absenteeism went down, and productivity went up. How do they use books? They maybe use it as a premium, where that dog food manufacturer that I mentioned before is a premium that you buy. Yet it's something that's earned. So you have to buy a product to get it. Where if a company may, if your book is about their product, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, they may have it at a trade show. So people will come there to visit their booth, and they give them a book as a thank you. So they're not reselling the books; they're using them to help them solve some business problems. And so the sales call starts out, you know, what are you trying to accomplish? And in this campaign, what worked for you in the past with campaigns? What didn't work? Then you get them talking about their what they want to accomplish. Then you show them how they can do that with your content. The the place one of the best places I think to find names of people is manta.com. That is a directory of about 13 million companies, and you can sort those by industry. So you can, if you're into healthcare, into banking, or into auto manufacturing, you can sort these buyers by those topics, but not buyers; these are companies. But it lists the names of the buyers, it lists the contact information, the addresses, the telephone numbers, the URLs, the email addresses, and it's just a great source of prospects. This Standard Industrial Classification Code, North American Industry Classification Code, Industrial Classification Codes, organized by companies in categories also. So you can get directories, the manufacturer's directory, a banker's directory. These are all different ways of getting names of buyers to contact, and that's where you start out off with you by learning the organizing your prospects into categories like the segments I showed you before, and then going to Manta, finding the names of buyers, and then either getting on the phone and contacting them, doing direct mail and contacting them, email, or hire my company to do that. We do that too. So or other companies. So there are ways if you want to do the selling, you can do it. If not, you can get companies to do it for you. But this is a could be a very lucrative way to generate revenue. Associations buy product they buy books to use for their cause marketing. If they have a cause for American Cancer Society, if your book is on that topic, they may allow you to use their logo. They may have a link to your website. And you may give them back a percentage of the sale. A lot of associations have a bookstore on their website, and they'll probably buy a 50% off. But in many cases, these books are non-returnable, and you may give an extra 5%. Say if it's 50% off returnable, 55% off non-returnable, and they may just go with the higher discount and sell them non-returnable. You can be a spokesman, as I mentioned, but they may use your book as a fundraising item also. Their associations are always looking for ways to raise funds. If you go to this directory of associations.com and put in a search term for, say, Texas, you can sort it by other types, but just I'll show you here. This comes up with all the associations that have 1,848 associations in Texas. So that's a great prospect list for you. Start contacting them, or you go to Wikipedia. This lists associations alphabetically, so you have it alphabetically or geographically, and you can come up with these places. And if you have books on brewing beer, go to these Brewers Association. Books on baking breads. It's a great opportunity to be specific. Get with these buyers who are interested in your topic, and that's the key to this. That you can help them help help them solve their problems. Selling to government agencies, the government, the federal government, state government, local government, these all buy products. The federal government has to spend, I think, about 30% of their annual expenditures of $19 trillion. Well, that's the debt, but they have to spend a certain amount of their annual budget on small businesses. So go to the GSA.gov, and they'll they'll help you get into the in the government. Once you're in the government, go to this website and get registered, or you can go there before you actually have a sale, and you register your product. So if they're looking for your book, they'll go to this bpn.gov and look for the different products on that topic, and then your book will come up. So it's a great way to have them come to you. But think about the federal government, the state government, local governments, depending on what your topic is about. Selling to a military, this is a great opportunity. As I talked before about the with my job search book, going to them to help the service people, but also the families of the service people. But they're looking for books on parenting. on Unfortunately, they're looking for books on grief, dealing with the death of a parent or a spouse. So they have just a wide. They're not looking just for military books. They're looking for a variety of books. And if you go to this AFES, Army Air Force Exchange Service.com, and you can go to the where it says more, and so they have children's books, teens books, here, nonfiction. They have fiction, so you can see where they have a variety of books that they sell, and they're much more. They go through a wholesale. They'll send you a list of their preferred wholesalers, and you can get into them, and then the AFES will buy your books. But it's a great way to reach a very targeted audience, and again, not just military books, but children's books, YA books, fiction, nonfiction, books on management sell well, business books, because these people are getting out of the service and they want to again have that training for making that happen. So the military can be a great place in which to sell books. Public libraries, or any kind of libraries, not just public libraries. There are 120,000 libraries out there. Only 16,000 are public libraries. There are religious libraries, school libraries, law libraries, hospital libraries, almost any type of topic. So think about how you can contact these people, and they're looking for books that the different collections. They have a core collection that is the basic reference book, the basic top 10 fiction and nonfiction, certainly. But they're also looking for the patron-driven collection that the local people, a rural library will have a different patron-driven collection than will an urban library. So just because it's a library doesn't mean that they'll buy your books. If you go to this publiclibraries.com, it's a prospect list for you. You can go there and say, go to Texas. That lists all the libraries in Texas. And you can contact them. You can go there and call the Alamo Public Library. We got Houston here. The Houston Area Library System, Houston Public Libraries on McKinney Street, and go there. And they don't buy the Houston Library System may buy books for all the libraries in the Houston system, so they may buy 10 or 20 at a time, but it's still not a large sale. But it's something, if you hit a lot of these places, you can sell books and get a foundation for your sales. And also this concept of doing a library tour. I had a client that in Connecticut that we have 160 some libraries in Connecticut. And one summer, he contacted many of those and did a personal presentation. He went there and talked about how to write a mystery novel. And at the back of the room sold, well, after his presentation, he'd go to the back of the room and sell books at list price, non-returnable. And he sold 3,000 books in one summer at $14.95. That wasn't a bad summer's work. And he just did it. The libraries do the promotion for you. Some libraries will give you an honorarium, maybe $50 or so. It'll certainly cover your gas and expenses for getting there. But a library tour can be lucrative in a small area. Connecticut, where I live, is probably the size of Houston, but you can do a library tour of these different different cities around Houston, just by going to publiclibraries.com. You find them, get on the phone. set up uh, your library tour and go to work. The academic market, people also just think of public schools, and the homeschooling marketplace is enormous and growing opportunity. Private schools, the distance schools, adult education, these are great opportunities depending on your target reader. Obviously, if it's a preschool book, it's not going to sell well for adults. Well, it could if they're parents or for homeschooling. But if you're looking for a distributor for this, this is a good opportunity for you. This American Reading Company, and they will take your book to. They're in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, but they distribute to the academic marketplace throughout the country. And it's primarily K-12. But if you want looking for something for colleges, go to Follett or NACS, National Association of College Stores Corp, NACS Corp, and or Barnes and Noble runs many college bookstores. So you have significant opportunities in non-retail, non-bookstore markets, and that's all we have. So any questions we have now, Verstan?
Yes, we do. We've got a couple questions. One is, how likely are doctor beauty salons or other places like that to buy books, especially like short story anthologies, to have in their waiting room? Would you need to have a connection to the profession, or do you think they might go for it with general fiction titles?
I think anything time you can make a connection to the profession would be more likely because if they have an anthology might be good where people if they're sitting there they can just read a short story, uh, but you wouldn't want to have a whole fiction book there because they wouldn't do it. Below, there's a coffee shop that's near me. They have a library there where you can sit there and read fiction or read a book. They have little bookshelves there. You take it home with you, and when you're done with it, you bring it back. But they hopefully that you'll sit there and read it while you're having a cup of coffee there. But I think anything more associated with that organization, but you can go to a beauty salon if your book is about the topic and have them buy a large quantity of it and give it to people would who come to their salon. Put their logo on it and say, "Here's a gift," or give them a download of an ebook, or go to the companies that provide the supplies to these salons and get them to buy the book. And so if a salon buys their products instead of someone else's, they get 5 free books with it to give out to their clients. So there are ways in which you can sell. The way I prefer selling is the larger quantities and non-returnable. So I would prefer instead of selling one book to each salon, sell 1,000 books to people who make the products for that, for the conditioner, for example. And then, so if you buy my conditioner over someone else's, then you get these 10 free books to give out to your clients, and we'll put your logo on it. So those are some ways of reaching the salon marketplace or small business marketplace like that. We had a book on the death of a cat, helping children deal with the death of a pet, and it turned out to be a real good book for the veterinarians took it and gave it to the kids when they were euthanizing their pets, and the companies that made the euthanasia products gave them to the veterinarians so they could give them to the families who were euthanizing their pets. So by going to the manufacturers of the products that they're buying it in the larger quantities, which is I think that's the preferable way to go.
Okay, and we have another one here. Do you need to have a Library of Congress control number in order to sell to libraries?
It's helpful. CIP, LCCN is good if you're working on your own. If you're going through Baker and Taylor uses the MARC system where they're electronically setting this up so that each individual library does not have to uh, register your book in their system. They can just download it from Baker and Taylor. So it's important, but if you're selling on your own, you're without going through a Baker and Taylor, for example, then yes, you should have an LCCN or CIP information in your book. Just was listening to a librarian last weekend talking about how to sell to libraries, and really interesting that how it's become so much electronically systematized now. And the types of books they don't want books that have fill in the blanks because people who take them out fill in the blanks and they're not good for their future patrons. But at any rate, to answer your question, that's it is. But yes, I would say just in case, have an LCCN or CIP information in your book.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's all we have, Stan. So if that's the end of the questions, we are finished.
Any more questions from anyone out there before we end this? Um, doesn't look like we have any more questions.
Okay.
We've got some thanks in the.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you for being with us. It was super informative. Yes, thank you so much, Brian.
You're very
We
welcome.
really appreciate it, and we hope to do this with you again sometime.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much, and wish everybody great success. Good night.
Thank you.